Just gonna go through removing parts from one of the boards that we've received back from Expat Audio. So let's have a quick look. Let's do a top down. Here we go. This is a board from, let's see if this auto focuses or not. It should do. This is an Eden board. This is a microphone preamplifier board that we manufacture here at Expat Audio. And when we manufacture them, we release them without pin headers and without decoupling cap, input coupling caps. Power supply decoupling and output coupling is already on there. Now you can see the users put these together. Yeah, a little bit of work required there, I think. This is by one of our customers, Pablo. He bought 8 of these from us and had some difficulties with them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fire up a tool that I have to remove these caps, these headers, and then I'm going to remove these caps as well, put them to one side. We might reuse these, and I'll replace the chips as well. I figure it's easier to just remove all the chips and put new ones on and know that it should work than go spend another hour debugging chip by chip and so on. So what I'm going to use for a lot of this is one of these. This is a soldering rework tool, but what's really cool about this is that it actually integrates one of these solder sucker things, where you can push the button and boom, it jumps. So that's on, and yes, it's getting hot. I haven't burnt my fingers quite yet. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little bit of flux on each of these pads, and let's move over to the microscope here so you guys can see. So here you go under the microscope there. And let's put a little bit of flux on. Now flux is magic stuff. So this is like the Chinese flux. So this is the stuff the Chinese use in all the boards that you see. Here's the lid just in case you all have any interest. They call it soldering paste, but soldering paste also has, some of it has the actual balls of soldering as well. So don't let that get confused. You always check what you're buying. So we're going to take a little bit of this and we're just going to put it on the pads we're going to desolder. And the reason I'm putting it there is it just helps the heat flow a little easier around all the joints and everything. Just a catalyst, if you will, around the board. Alright, so let's carry on here. What we've got here is, this is now warmed up. This is the wonderful tool here that we use to take off headers and so on. I haven't actually got any flux on these caps, but we'll try this anyway. And this is where I burn fingers, okay? So you can see here I'm kind of grabbing and hoping like crazy. Let's see if I can move this microscope up to give you a little better view. I'll be cleaning holes around this board as well in just a moment. But there's the second cap. Decoupling caps. These are the output caps actually that are used from the output from the DRV135. I'll probably leave these 2 in because they don't really get in the way too much of soldering over here. But these headers have got to come out. They're a hot mess. So this desoldering tool, I hadn't seen one like this before. I'd always use like a soldering iron and then a separate tool to do this. This desoldering tool is like 20 bucks or something, and I swear to you, it's probably the best 20 bucks I've spent in the lab in quite a while. The solder paste, the yellow solder paste actually causes quite a bit of smoke with this, but it does help the heat flow around the joint and everything a lot easier. Some people tend to find this kind of video kind of entertaining in a relaxing kind of way. Kind of watching a craftsman at work. I hardly think of myself as a craftsman, sadly. So there we go. Voila! Headers out. Fantastic. Great job, everyone. Let's go get a beer. Okay, so next let's get these headers out. So one of the things I'm One of the pieces of feedback I'll have for poor Pablo is make sure your headers are straight. And in the worst case, some people struggle to get headers straight because other components are in the way, or they just can't line them up straight and so on. So we're going to work on that in this video when we solder them back on as well. Now on these mic pre-boards we actually have a pre-DC coupling cap and a post-DC coupling cap, and we allow customers to put their own in if they want. Some customers don't want DC coupling caps because they're using ribbon mics. This Eden board has actually found its way to being a really good ribbon mic pre because of the high gain. You can get up to 60 dB of gain out of this with very little distortion. And these input coupling caps drive me batshit crazy as well. So let's see if we can zap those real quick. Thank you very much. I can go over there, Pablo. I'll get you back for that one later. As I said yesterday, flux actually comes from trees apparently. Oh, look at that. Flux actually comes from trees, so they take the sap, I think it is, from there. They extract flux, and it's slightly corrosive, which is what actually helps it, helps with soldering. But it also means that it's not very good for you, really. And come on, pop. Yeah, we go. Another one bites the dust, and now we just got to get these two blinking connectors down here. So let's see if we can get them now already. All right, that's almost all the solder taken off these pads. Now I'm going to clean up these pads in a minute as well. All right, we're just removing pins and stuff right now just to get back to the basic configuration. And I see 1, 2, 3 things left with flux on them. We may as well take these decoupling caps out as well, seeing as I'm on a roll. Now for decoupling caps on these boards, I actually tend to use bipolar electrolytic caps. The reason why is I need them for, when I was designing the board, you never know which side is going to be more positive than the other. Especially like a phantom power, sometimes you have phantom power, so one side is 48 volts and the other side could be biased to ground, or if you're in a positive supply situation, 7.5 volts and all that kind of thing. So having a cap that can kind of go both ways is pretty useful. By the way, some of you may have noticed this silicone soldering mat I'm working on. It's actually really nice. Adafruit started selling them, and I was like, I'm not paying Adafruit's prices. Adafruit's got some cool products, but their pricing, I know they've got to pay for people and stuff like that, and the rest of everybody else can go to them and stuff and know what they're buying. But the first thing I did was look up silicone soldering mat on Amazon, and I got it for half the price. So let's have a quick look now. Let's see if I can take this connector off, because look at this connector. It's at a silly angle and a half. So 1, 2, 3. Come on, pop it. There we go. That comes off. Let's see if I can get these caps out. 1 cap. 2 cap. All right. So what we now have is just our surface mount devices. I'm going to clean up this board because it's still got flux on the back. We always take flux off. I'm going to use some isopropyl alcohol, and when I come back I'm going to desolder these parts and put new ones on. Alright, thanks folks. Now the first thing I'm putting down these boards is a little bit of flux before I apply hot air. So hot air is going to be used to melt the solders holding these on. I use flux because it's a trick I learned on a training course I did in China on how to repair circuit boards on phones and things. And the message is that even if you have crappy tools, flux is your friend. It helps heat to flow and solder to flow. So hot air, let's get the hot air going. For those of you interested, I'm using a WER 898D. So the soldering stations and stuff, they tend to be all copies of Hackos, and I use an 898D. There's going to be a link in the description over on Amazon so that you can very quickly pick one up as well. I think it's fabulous actually. It actually uses, the soldering side uses the same tips as the old school Hacko 936, so they're cheap and abundant to get hold of. and then the heater doesn't use any tips at all, so you can see it here. The key with surface mount soldering, and I've said this on my other videos, is just keep moving. You have to keep on moving. So I'm just going to keep swirling that around, and that should come. Now if you just leave the hot air in one point only, you get hot spots on the chip and hot spots on the PCB, and that can do things like melt traces and melt the glue that's holding the copper down. So you just keep on moving, and voila, it comes off. We'll do the same up here. And 1, 2, 3 should come off. Come on. That comes off as well. Well, the other thing you'll find is that by doing it this way, you don't like drag solder all over the place and make a mess and so on. Oh, stopped for a little bit too long there. I'm going to nip around this board with a normal soldering iron in a minute and just touch up some of these points. All I'm doing here, giving these a little blast. And you know, when you do buy an Eden, you're welcome to do this on your end as well, just to give a little blast of heat, just to make sure everything is happy with a little bit of solder. Alright, finally, last thing I want to do here is this board is ready to have its final caps put on. So I'm going to just line these up like this. This should be fairly straightforward. You guys should hopefully, you know, if you are into electronics, you know how to solder the basics. So we'll get a little bit of this. Where's my solder gone? I've got a little bit of solder here. And off we go. Let's put a little bit of solder on. Now I typically solder the non-ground traces first, and I'll tell you why. Because ground traces tend to be the copper poor, you know, all this copper is ground, and so it tends to really, like, you know, soak up all the heat from your soldering iron. It's not a good thing to solder onto. What you'll find as well, and it sounds like such a petty thing, but it really is a real thing, is that soldering onto ground decreases the tip temperature on your soldering iron quite badly. Alright, I'm actually going to run over these solder points as well one more time real quick. The danger in even dealing with a small volume of boards is you get things mixed up. So these are both Pablo's boards. So I'm going to write a little note here, and forgive me, for some reason the camera is reversed, but Pablo Eden number 1, reworked, ready for tester. My tester is down at the moment. I'll explain more about that soon. I got one more board here. Now you're going to laugh at me for this, but I saw this really cool tool that could help out here. This is a little gun type deal that's used that you put it through a shirt. This is how they put hang tags on little stores and things like that. And the idea is, see, it pushes this plastic tag through the hole in the clothing, and so be it. So what I'm going to do, look, I'm going to take this, pop it through here, grab one of my boards here, and click. And now this board has a tag. But the danger is, and this is the downside, this plastic melts very easily. So all it takes is you know, soldering iron getting close to this, and boof, it's gone. So you know, expect to put these back on all the time. I know what you're thinking. This guy's near a steam nightmare, but we'll put a label on by there just to close the bag. And so next time I come back to work, it'll be ready and waiting for me. All right, ladies and gents. Next step, we're going to do the third board. We'll do that. I'll do that offline most likely, and hopefully by early next week, I'll have a video on how we test these bad boys. All right, you all take care. Thank you again.